Hi, Shilpa. Thank you for
Hi,
joining.
Ellie. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We met quite a while ago now, actually, and I was really intrigued by some of the things that you were posting online around parenting and relationships with our kids. So
Yeah.
give us a quick summary around what you do.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Shilpa. I'm a parent coach, mindset expert, and creative mindset mini me. And I help parents find more intention, ease, and joy, mainly through toolkits that help them support and connect with their kids and teach them about emotional and mental well-being, and also through coaching in my community, Mindset and Us.
Fantastic. And I think that's so needed. I think I've shared with you before that uh, there have been times where I've been looking for a parenting coach and found it really hard to find someone that does something that like, yeah, this sits with my values and this sounds like it's going to be applicable rather than ideological. It might work sometimes for some people, but to me, your stuff seems very down to earth. It's very practical. It's very easy to engage with and easy to use. Um, and you use the words there, ease, like making it feel easier.
Yeah, definitely. I think come very much from a position of not, I think there's support when things are really difficult with kids and you might need some specialist help. But I wanted to just help parents just in that just everyday parenting can feel quite challenging. And I wanted to bring a lot of the knowledge I'd taken from coachings on mindset and emotions and just make that more accessible to parents, both teaching the kids but also for themselves. And that's really like the kind of concept of mindset in us is actually we're both always learning, and we
Absolutely.
both need that support.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things I often talk about in terms of trying to help people just make the work and planning and organizing their stuff outside of work to just make it feel a bit easier. So we're both approaching that, making it feel easier, but from different points, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think they just so feed off each other because I know when I'm much more organized, and my logistics in place, actually you feel more relaxed and that comes out in how you talk to the kids and feel with the kids. So I think it, yeah, definitely very much feeds off each other, which is why I kind of reached out to you and sort of wanted to talk about collaborating.
So should we think about how we're going to help people with this over the festive season?
Yeah, sounds good. Where everything comes together, the emotions and the logistics.
Yes. And I know there are times, I love Christmas. I get very excited about Christmas, but there are times where it's felt stressful and overwhelming. So let's have a little think about how we might try and make it feel, I guess, easy this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Um, so I'm thinking about words that people might use to describe how they're feeling at this time of the
Yeah,
year.
exactly. So what are the words that come to mind for you?
I think a lot of people feel overwhelmed. I was talking to some people on a training course last week who just said they feel that this time of the year is very stressful, very overwhelming. Perhaps there's high expectations.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and definitely speaking to parents, yeah, I think that piece around expectation and wanting it to be, a lovely Christmas. I hate to use the word perfect, but a perfect Christmas for your kids. And then but then there's also lots of kind of extra tasks that come on that adds to a lot of that kind of overwhelm and pressure.
I think especially when you've got children at that primary school age or younger, there's
Yeah.
different events. And I had a message from a parent friend last night asking, "Have you got an orange t-shirt? Does anybody know where I can get an orange t-shirt? We need one this week." Lots of
Yeah,
extra
exactly.
requirements and things to think about.
Yeah, definitely. The calendars for them just fill up so quickly. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've learned and reflected on over the years is trying to move away from this perfect, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
Christmas, to a sense of connection, a
Yeah.
time away from the normal day to day where we can be a bit more connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is so important. That sort of brings me on to what I want to cover next is
Hmm.
kind of helping people just step away from the to-do list. So one of the things that I guess want to invite you to consider is really stepping instead of focusing on that perfection or imagining everything is great, and then all the to-do lists that come with that, is really actually think about what you want to feel over Christmas, because actually everything that we do aims to create a feeling. So really, whether we're conscious of it or not, when we're trying to grasp at that perfection, it's that kind of control. Oh, well, if everything's perfect, then everyone's going to be happy and bells are going to be ringing in the background. But actually, we know that that's not true, because actually we just try and aim to do everything and be everything to reach that elusive perfection. That's actually when we feel burnt out, and before we know it, we're just sat there at the end of the day on the sofa and we don't really know, haven't had any time to enjoy ourselves. So yeah, the question I ask parents to consider is actually, what are 3 things that they want to feel this Christmas, instead of focusing on that to then shape your priorities. So for me, I guess my words this year are relaxed, organised, and fun. So that organised piece definitely comes from, because I know actually if I'm more organised and ahead of the game, I'm going to actually feel more relaxed. And even if it doesn't quite feel necessarily fun in the moment, sort of getting everything ready or doing the present buying, I know that actually when then the holidays come, I can actually have that time to feel relaxed. But what about you, Hayley? What are your 3 words?
Connection would be one of them. I'm
Yeah,
not saying relax. I think for me, yeah, calm.
yeah,
I like the word fun, but I like to, yeah, fun sounds good, but also there's something for me about my favorite is Christmas Eve. That's my favorite day. So I like to have everything done and ready before then,
yeah,
so I can sit back
yeah,
and enjoy that. So when I'm saying one of my words is calm, I
yeah,
guess I kind of mean not rushed.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
thinking about what that might mean. So
yeah,
definitely connection, definitely calm.
yeah,
Yeah, I like fun, but there's also this thing about defining a bit more clearly what I mean by calm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's really interesting that your favorite day is Christmas Eve. So I really like the time in between Christmas and New Year, because I feel like it's one of the few times just tend to be at home or at someone's
Mm.
house, and there's no obligations. I try and keep it clear, and just that time to actually just have like space in the calendar to just read a book, or just see what happens rather than have plans, and that feels really nice.
Yeah, I've got lots of plans that week.
Oh, really? That's a bit differently.
Yeah, so different things, I guess, are going to work for different families, right? So
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think the other thing around how you want to feel that's so important around that is then the kind of the standards that you're putting around what you want to do, because so much of that pressure and overwhelm can come from just putting really unrealistic standards on ourselves, like doing all the baking and having this perfectly wrapped presents and making sure everything's homemade. So I think you'll come on to this a bit, but really thinking about those standards as well when we're setting in connection to how we want to feel. So actually, how can you simplify things or drop those standards? So actually, does everything need to be homemade, or can you ask people to help, or where can you kind of club together with people? Or like one hack I got is just buying lots of people the same thing that's quite thoughtful, instead of, so you're not having to think of 20 presents to buy. But
that's
yeah, I think that standards thing is really important.
mm. And I know in the world of work, when I'm talking to people about where their expectations come from in the working world, people often say, "Oh, well, yeah, these were unreasonably high expectations. They all come from me. They don't come from anyone else." Like I think
Yeah,
we set the bar for ourselves much higher than we would for anyone else. You
yeah,
might think, "Oh, I want to make this and I want to do this homemade. I want to do this," but you wouldn't go around to somebody else's home and go, "Oh, they've given me a mince pie out of a packet." You'd be like, "Oh, great, it's a mince
yeah.
pie. It's a nice company. That's what's important."
Definitely, yeah, I think that's so true. And yeah, you're right. It's just we actually we can do it in lots of areas of our life. And for some reason, sort of Christmas, I think maybe it's that kind of external pictures of perfection we're constantly sort of bombarded with. It has kind of a tendency to sort of help us perhaps kind of raise our standards to unrealistic ones.
Absolutely. It's too many good TV adverts with everyone
Yeah,
perfect Christmas.
So yeah, so I'll hand over to you. So you're going to give us some tools and strategies for achieving more balance.
Yeah, and I think it is, that thing around expectations. Like, what's really important to you about Christmas? What do those three words mean? What does it look like? How are you going to experience that? I remember talking to a client who had a huge workload and was organizing her wedding. And somebody said, "Oh, well, your wedding day is just going to be really stressful." And she was like, "No, no, it's not. It's going to be the best day ever. Like, that's how it's going to be." So instead of talking about organizing her wedding and organizing what needed to be where and who needed to be
Yeah,
where, she said, "No, my plan is to enjoy my wedding day."
yeah,
So that kind of reframing. So it's not about buying the perfect gifts, but it's about whatever those three words are for you, and thinking, really, what does that look like? How do I bring that to the table? What's going to happen and what's going to not happen
yeah,
actually for me to be
yeah,
able to do that? Um, so I think there's something about just taking a little bit of time out to look at the calendar,
yeah,
everything that's coming up.
yeah,
It is going to involve a list.
yeah,
But seeing, where can you batch those things together? So if you're going online to order a whole load of stuff, instead of doing a
yeah,
little bit here and there, can you chunk some of it together? Um, Thinking about ways to just make it feel easier. I remember one year a friend of mine decided that their best time to do their Christmas shopping
yeah.
was on Christmas Eve. And I went with them, and it was awful. There was this mad
Oh,
dash around the shops. Everything
yeah,
was kind of last minute. They didn't know what they were going to get people at that point. It's like, you really should have thought of this by now. And that's really easy to say. So I just get started with writing a list for the people I want to get a present for
yeah.
or a gift for. And sometimes during the year I've noted down, oh, this person likes that. I was going to give an example there, but I realized I shouldn't, because I'm
Watching.
going to buy that thing for that person. So yeah, just jotting down some ideas of what I'm going to buy, um, and then just kind of going through that quite methodically, getting those things ordered. I've got a day in my calendar next weekend to go and do a little bit of Christmas shopping for those things I want to get in person.
Yeah,
So I've got an idea of, I know what I need to buy for who. It's just a case of where I go and do that. So
yeah,
that's helpful, I think. But also, what things do the kids have coming up? There's Christmas jumper day.
yeah,
You've got to take a bar of chocolate in for the chocolate tombola, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. So just kind of doing all those things, adding those things to a food shop next time we go food shopping. Just
yeah,
look at the calendar, identify what needs to be done.
yeah,
Sometimes it's the school newsletter or the nursery newsletter, to think, yeah, let's just make a list of everything we need to do and everything we need to think about. And then you
yeah,
can just tick it off, and it feels great to tick
yeah,
stuff off. And there's that sense of, like, I want to write down that I've done that already. Because even if you've done it, it feels good to write it down and tick it off. That gives our brain a sense of we're making progress, we're achieving something here.
yeah.
And I think equal to that, like, what's not going to happen?
Yes,
If you're planning to say, actually, I wanted to make everybody a handmade Christmas card this year, but you realize you haven't got time to do that, then maybe there's one or two people you might want to make that handmade Christmas card for. Or maybe that's just something to aspire to for next year. What are we not going to do? And if you're
yeah,
running your own business, maybe you say, actually, I've got these deadlines, I've got these things that need to happen in the business. How do I balance that with the things I'm doing outside of work? I think it's
yeah,
very easy to think of, I've got to do all these things at work, I've got to do all these things in my life outside of work. But we need to make some choices. We can't do everything. We don't want
yeah,
to be staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning wrapping presents. So we need to make
yeah.
some decisions.
Yeah, and I think that choice thing is really interesting because I think that that is what we're really bad at humans, is making those decisions to not do something.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
what happens is we make them at the last minute because we realize we can't do anything. It's almost like we want time to force us to make those choices, rather
Yeah.
than just accepting up front that we can't do everything. I know personally I'm quite bad at that, or it's something I could definitely get better at.
And I think when you make a conscious decision, like, actually, that's not going to
Yeah,
happen, it
yeah,
feels better than just, I didn't get around
yeah,
to.
Yeah,
because it
exactly.
still kind of nags at you, but to say, actually, yeah, I'm not going to do that thing. Uh,
Yeah,
that's maybe a nice to have, and I'll do it if I get time, but it's not
yeah,
the end of the world if I don't. We need to be a bit kinder to ourselves, I think,
yeah,
working
definitely,
parents. We've
definitely.
got to do everything.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think something because of what you said around the handmade card is it's also like, can we achieve the same effect in a different way? So I'm just thinking, if you don't send Christmas cards, can you even just send an email to somebody you don't talk to very much? Just say, "Oh,
Yeah,
I was just thinking of you, didn't send a Christmas card, but just wanted to say, hope you have a lovely Christmas." And actually, that's going to mean kind of as much to that person as
absolutely.
Christmas card. And as you say, like not just inviting friends round with some shop bought mince pies, like that's still going to be just a brilliant evening, even if it's, you know, isn't quite the image you had in your mind.
Yes, and I think I remember a couple of years ago, some friends, we were due to go out for dinner, a group of parents, we were going out for dinner a few days before Christmas. It was quite
Yeah,
close to Christmas.
yeah,
And one person kind of put on the WhatsApp group, I haven't wrapped any presents yet. I don't think I can come. And then somebody else was like, oh, I haven't done my wrapping either. And we ended up, everybody just brought their presents and their wrapping paper around to my house
yeah,
and sat in front of the Christmas tree and we helped everybody wrap presents. I love wrapping presents.
yeah,
I was in my element. There may have been a little bit of Prosecco and mince
yeah,
pies involved, but it was just really lovely. And we,
yeah,
as a group of friends, had that time to connect with each other and
yeah,
catch up and see how things were without having to spend loads of money in a nice restaurant. And we got our presents wrapped at the same time. So that was very
yeah.
lovely. That sense of connection was very much there.
Definitely. I love that story. It's just so brilliant. Because you guys would have just had so much fun.
Oh, we did. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um,
Brilliant.
so when we're thinking about doing these things like, wrapping presents and making cards and making cakes and stuff, maybe there's something about getting the kids involved as well. I know I've seen you talk about like how do we involve the children with this rather than give them this fully perfectly wrapped up Christmas. They don't have to lift a finger.
Definitely. I think that's definitely something I been even this year just started to involve them more because I think when they're really little there is that sense of they kind of arrive on Christmas morning and it's like they don't bat an eyelid or think about what has taken for that to happen. But yeah, that's definitely something I've started conversations with them this year of, okay, you need to help me before we put the Christmas tree up, you need to help me actually think about what we're going to buy some people and you need to write some of your Christmas cards and that sort of thing. Because I think there's also something around, again, it's that the more, even if you're just think of everything a couple of weeks earlier than you do, it allows you to have that conversation with people and kind of share across the home who's doing what, rather than just everything you thinking about it at the last minute and then it's too late to talk to someone else about it.
Absolutely.
Good. And were you going to talk to us about boundaries and
Yeah, and I think, I use the example there of like, wrapping presents till 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I can very rarely stay awake till 2 o'clock in the morning because that wouldn't be something I'd do. But just thinking, what are your boundaries?
yeah,
And you might say, well, actually, I really want to be able to go to the works Christmas party, and I really want to take that time off to go and see the nativity play or whatever it might be.
yeah,
So, what can we protect and set some boundaries around? Say, actually, they're the things that you really want to do. They're the things that are most important to you. And that gives us permission, I think, to prioritize those things and perhaps switch off or defer or drop some of the other stuff. Um, and going back to those 3 words that you asked about earlier, you're
yeah,
thinking, what's going to give us that? What does
yeah,
that look like? What are the things that I'm quite happy to make a compromise about? And what are the things where I'm like, no, I really don't want to be the only one making Christmas dinner like all afternoon or whatever it might be. So, like you said, asking people to help. Um, and sometimes there can be a lot of pressure from other people to do things in a certain way. So just being clear before you enter into some of those conversations around what your boundaries are and what's going to work for you, where you're willing to compromise and where you really want to have something in a particular way.
yeah, definitely. I think it's really interesting what you're saying because I think there is, as you say, something around what do we want for the period for ourselves? So actually remembering to kind of
Yeah.
plan in. And I think is what you're getting at also, it's just actually sometimes it can be more challenging where our boundaries are meeting someone else's. So it's, I guess that's the interesting bit to navigate, isn't it? Of, well, actually, I don't actually, I'm cooking, I'm cooking this year, and actually, I'm going to do it in my way.
Yes,
That
yeah.
may, because I don't want to spend the whole morning in the kitchen.
Yes, and we actually had pizza for Christmas last year,
Oh,
and
I
that's a
love
bit
that.
controversial. People may have switched off, going, "No, that's just too far off the wall." Have a pizza oven in our garden, and we said to my son, "Like, what do you want for Christmas? What do you
Yeah.
want for dinner?" And he was like, "Well, pizza." And one of our guests was a bit like, "Oh, can I put turkey on my pizza?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely." So yeah, just kind of thinking about what's going to work for you. And I said earlier about like making a list of all the things you need to do now, and we're at the beginning of December.
Yeah.
To some people, that might seem like quite a long way off.
Yeah.
Some people have probably got their Christmas. In fact, I know one of my friends has got her presents brought and wrapped already because she gave me mine
Oh,
the
amazing.
other day.
Yeah.
That's a whole new level of organised, isn't it? But just checking in weekly with your progress and your plans and saying, are we
Yeah.
working towards this? Is this going in the right way? And if it's not, like not beating yourself up about it,
Yeah.
but just saying, okay, well, what do I need to do to get a bit more realistic? Where do I
Yeah.
need to get some help? Thinking about changes we need to make that are not going to put us under a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah.
Be able to achieve those 3 words or whatever it was that we set.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
And I
how do
think,
we go about?
sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, I think there's something also, it's like just accepting that there is often a bit more home admin. So actually just being honest about that and
Yeah.
ramming that into your week.
Definitely, there's more food shopping to be brought. There's, if you even if you're going away, I think there's often things because you're thinking, well, I need to pack the car or I need to get ready because we're going on the train and I can't take too much stuff with
Yeah.
me. So yeah, whether you're staying at home or whether you're going somewhere else, there's probably, more
Yeah.
things than usual that you need to be thinking
Yeah.
about.
Exactly.
One of my words earlier was around connection and wanting more
Yeah.
connection with my son over Christmas. Any tips around that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we do tend to have more time at home over Christmas or more time with loved ones. And go back to those words. I think what will be on a lot of people's list is connection, as you say, but also, fun, happiness, joy. So actually, two of the things that research consistently shows that brings us that kind of connection and joy is gratitude and giving back. So I just wanted to share some ideas around that, how you can bring those two concepts into that time over Christmas in really fun ways. So gratitude. So a couple of ideas that I have in my toolkit are gratitude stockings. So each having a stocking and just keeping it really simple. You can just draw one on an A4 piece of paper and use some post-its, or you can just write it with some felt tips, kind of something that you love about that person, and just using it or something that you've really loved that they've done for you that year, and just so you stuff the stocking with the ideas and then everyone opens them, on whatever Christmas afternoon or Boxing Day or something. So that's one really simple idea. And
Lovely.
then the other idea could be just really taking that time to reflect on the year, and not in a kind of sort of serious way, but just in a fun way, just going through the months and like what was everyone's favorite funny memory that happened in January or favorite weekend they can remember. Because I think the other thing is, especially with young kids, you're constantly in motion, and it's so hard to take that time to sit and reflect or just think back of all the fun you've had. So actually doing that with the kids as well, they will forget, especially with kids, they always just
Yeah.
remember the thing that happened 10 minutes ago. Um, um, so just taking the time for them is just fun for them and great for them. It's also great for their brains. It builds the memories in their hippocampus, which is, and it goes on to shape how they're viewing the world and kind of what lens they're viewing the world. So it's really good stuff in terms of how we're shaping their minds, but also just for creating that sort of positive vibe in the moment. So those are a couple of
Yeah.
ideas.
I love the idea of that reflecting back, and I'm thinking it would be nice to do that just by looking at some of the pictures we've taken over the course of the year, maybe choosing a couple of favourites to print out.
Yeah, it's such a good idea because again, like the way mobiles are, we almost use them as our memory bank, don't we? So actually, and how many of us actually look over them or print them off? So even just kind of, yeah, picking a favorite photo together one a month would be an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's going on my list.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And then shall I just say a bit about giving back?
Yes, that would be
I
great.
think again, especially around Christmas time, if you celebrate with present giving, there can be such a focus around that, and it can get quite intense with the young kids because they're sort of feeding off everything they're seeing on TV or YouTube or whatever, of like, I want this, and it can, I think sometimes parents can feel it really tips a lot in the balance of just what it, just what people are getting and that sort of thing. Um, so actually to rebalance that a bit, kind of thinking about the giving back as well, which again, actually, giving back is one of the best ways we know to build connection and kind of feel a sense of happiness and purpose. So thinking about really small ways you can do that with your kids. So if they have pocket money, think about, ask them to think about whether there's charities they want to give to, and kind of talking to them about what a few different charities to do, or there's food banks, even just the food bank in the supermarkets, just really simple ideas. Or there might be charity shops around, and actually you're trying to have a bit of a clear out anyway of clothes or toys before you get some new ones, so but just involving them in that process. So even just having kind of age appropriate conversations. Oh, not everyone's as lucky as us to have a home or to have a hot meal. So what can we do to help those people? I think it's
So
just, again,
important.
kind of a sort of less direct way, but it really actually goes back to those feelings, that that's what actually gives people joy and connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's really important.
Brilliant. That's all I wanted to say on that.
Cool. Well, thank you. And I think you've got a downloadable resource for people as well on your
Yes.
website.
Yes, I do. So yeah, we're going to share that to people who signed up.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So just remind everybody, Shilpa, of your website so people can find you.
Yes. So so the company's called Mindset Mimi and Me. So that's www.mindsetmimiandme.com. I've also got a gratitude toolkit, which teach kids about gratitude through story, science, and fun activities. And that's 50% off, launching this week, £47.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you to everyone for joining us. And yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.